Welcome to our deep dive. And today we're going to be exploring something really interesting. Um, the connection between gut health, your immune system, and the health of your skin.
Oh, that's a fascinating area.
Yeah, we've got a couple of interesting sources here.
Yeah.
One is a text file that's got a really interesting name. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet.
Okay.
But and then also an interview with a dermatologist who seems to have maybe found the fountain of youth.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really curious to see what we uncover here. You know, when we think about skin, we
Yeah.
think about just this surface layer, right?
Right.
But it's, it really is a dynamic organ. And from what I'm reading here, it's really a reflection of what's going on inside. It acts almost like a scanner,
It does. It's like a billboard.
a billboard.
Yeah.
The healthy organs contribute to a healthy skin.
Yeah.
And if something's off internally, a lot of times it's going to show up on your skin.
That's amazing. So we're talking about more than just getting a rash if you eat something you're allergic to. Yeah. It goes way beyond that. We're going to be talking about imbalances in your gut microbiome and how those can manifest as skin conditions like eczema or acne or even rosacea.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's talk about this microbiome because, I hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm still not really sure what it does or why it's so important.
Well, the gut microbiome plays a really critical role in training your immune system. You can actually think of it like a school for your immune cells.
Okay.
And the microbes in your gut, they act as the teachers. They help your immune system learn to distinguish between harmless substances and potential threats.
Oh, that's such a good analogy. I love that.
Yeah.
So what happens if our immune system doesn't get a good education? What happens to us?
Well, if your immune system isn't properly trained, it can become overly reactive, right?
Right.
And that can lead to issues like allergies or autoimmune diseases, chronic inflammation.
And chronic inflammation. Wow. Okay. Um, so how do we make sure that our immune system gets like the best education possible?
Well, there are three really crucial stages for establishing a healthy microbiome early in life. One is vaginal birth.
Okay.
Number two is breastfeeding.
Okay.
And the third is limited antibiotic use.
Oh, that's interesting. So I can understand how like a vaginal birth and breastfeeding expose a baby to like good bacteria.
Right.
But why is it so important to limit antibiotic use?
Because antibiotics, while they're very powerful tools for fighting bacterial infections, they can also wipe out the good bacteria in the gut. And that can disrupt the delicate balance of the microbiome. And especially if that happens early in life, it can have some long-term consequences for immune system development.
So it's all about balance then.
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of the delicate ecosystem in our gut and how our actions impact its balance.
You mentioned before that certain skin conditions can be linked to gut imbalances. Can you give some specific examples of how that plays out?
Sure, let's take PCOS, for example.
Oh.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a hormonal disorder that affects women, and it can manifest in a lot of ways, including problems with the skin, acne, hirsutism, and even skin tags. Research has shown that women with PCOS tend to have gut microbiome imbalances, and these imbalances can actually contribute to the skin manifestations of PCOS.
Wow. So the skin really is like a window into what's happening in the gut.
It is.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
Does that mean that if we take care of our skin, that can also benefit our gut health?
It does. The connection between the gut and the skin, it goes both ways.
Interesting.
It's a two-way street. Remember, our skin is our largest organ, right?
Right.
It's our first line of defense against the outside world. And it even has its own immune system.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually even larger than the one in our blood.
Wow.
And so, just like we need to nourish our gut with healthy foods and lifestyle choices, we also need to care for our skin.
So how can we do that? How can we protect our skin barrier and support its immune function?
Well, one important step is to avoid harsh soaps and cleansers, the kind that disrupt the skin's natural pH balance. I don't know if you knew this, but there's actually a pH balancing cleanser. It was invented in Colombia,
Really?
and it's specifically designed to maintain the skin's acidity.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And just like our gut microbiome thrives on diversity,
Right.
our skin also benefits from exposure to a variety of beneficial microbes.
Oh, so like getting dirty is good for you.
Well, getting a little dirty now and then can actually be a good thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, whether it's gardening, playing outdoors, or even just walking barefoot on the grass, these activities can help strengthen our skin's immune system.
I always thought we needed to be like as clean as possible to stay healthy.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
While hygiene is important, we don't want to create a sterile environment that deprives our skin of the good microbes that it needs to thrive.
Okay, that makes sense. So we talked about how the gut impacts the skin and vice versa, the skin impacts the gut. But what about food? I know that what we eat affects our gut health,
Right.
but how does that translate to skin health?
Well, a lot of aspects of modern food production, unfortunately, can negatively impact both our gut and our skin health.
Uh-oh.
So things like monoculture farming, the use of pesticides,
Yeah.
all these ultra-processed foods and genetically modified organisms, all of these can disrupt the balance of our microbiome.
Yeah, it seems like those practices are everywhere these days. Is there anything we can do to kind of avoid those potentially harmful ingredients?
Well, you can start by focusing on whole, unprocessed foods as much as possible, choosing organic options when they're available. That's a great way to reduce exposure to pesticides. And you know what? Don't be afraid to experiment in the kitchen. Cooking at home, it gives you more control over the ingredients, and you can ensure you're getting the most nutritious food possible.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about things that get, kind of a bad rap lately? Like gluten or dairy. Are those always bad for us?
Not necessarily. It's not that simple.
Okay.
It's important to remember that not all foods are created equal.
Okay.
For example, with dairy, not all dairy is the same.
Okay.
The type of protein in cow's milk can actually make a difference in terms of how digestible it is
Oh, interesting.
and its inflammatory potential.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
So modern cow's milk mostly contains a protein called casein A1, have you heard of that?
I think so.
Which has been linked to digestive issues and inflammation in some people. But older breeds of cows produce milk with a different kind of protein. It's called casein A2. And casein A2 is thought to be easier to digest and less inflammatory.
Wow, so someone who might have some trouble with regular milk might be okay with A2 milk.
Exactly. It just highlights the importance of considering the source of our food and the processing methods,
Right.
rather than just simply labeling entire food groups as good or bad.
Oh, that's really good information. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand like the nuances of nutrition and, how that impacts my overall health.
Yeah.
So there's something else I want to touch on too. It's orthorexia.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is that and how does it relate to all of this?
Orthorexia is basically an obsession with healthy eating
Oh, okay.
to a point where it becomes detrimental to a person's overall well-being.
Wow.
So, while it's great to nourish our bodies with good foods, it's also important to find balance and enjoy the pleasure of eating.
Right.
Obsessing over every ingredient and restricting ourselves can actually backfire and harm our physical and mental health.
Yeah. Especially like during the holidays or, special occasions. I think it's important to allow yourself to, indulge and enjoy those meals without guilt.
Absolutely. Food is meant to be enjoyed, and it's meant to be shared with loved ones. And if we deprive ourselves and are constantly worrying about our food choices, it's just going to create unnecessary stress, which, as we'll talk about next, can have a significant impact on our gut and our skin health.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that stress can wreak havoc on the gut. Just how powerful is this connection and like, what's the science behind it?
Well, the connection between stress and the gut is very powerful.
Okay.
Studies have actually shown that even just 30 minutes of stress can drastically alter the composition of our gut microbiome.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, 30 minutes. That's amazing. I knew stress wasn't good for me, but I didn't realize it could have such a rapid impact.
It's because our gut and our brain, they're in constant communication through what we call the gut-brain axis.
Right.
So when we're stressed out, our brain releases hormones, and those hormones can directly affect the function of our gut, including the balance of our microbiome.
Wow. So are there any specific examples of how that stress can manifest in the gut?
Yeah, stress can lead to a lot of different digestive issues, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea. It can also worsen symptoms of existing conditions like irritable bowel syndrome.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot. I definitely noticed that my digestion gets kind of thrown off when I'm stressed out. Is there anything we can do to kind of mitigate those negative effects of stress on our gut?
Absolutely. There are a lot of effective stress management techniques, like exercise, mindfulness practices, spending time in nature, and engaging in things that we enjoy. And also, you can incorporate probiotics into your diet.
Probiotics?
Yeah, probiotics are live bacteria that can help replenish and diversify the gut microbiome.
Okay, and how do they work?
Probiotics essentially introduce beneficial bacteria into the gut, which helps to crowd out the harmful bacteria and restore a healthy balance.
So it's kind of like giving our gut microbiome like a helping hand during those times of stress.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, managing stress is an ongoing process, you know? It's about finding what works best for you and incorporating those practices into your daily life.
I appreciate that advice.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that self-care is essential, especially in our busy world these days.
Mm.
I'm kind of curious, though, can a compromised gut also contribute to mental health issues?
Yeah, it actually can. The gut-brain connection, remember, it's a two-way street.
Right.
So, a damaged microbiome, it can disrupt the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And those play a really important role in regulating our mood, our sleep, our cognition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a really fascinating story in our source material about a doctor who was able to overcome severe depression by healing his gut.
Wow. So it really does go both ways then.
It does. So, by taking care of our gut, we're also taking care of our mental health.
Yeah, I'm really starting to see how far-reaching the implications of gut health are.
Absolutely. And we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to learn about how our gut works and how it affects us. But before we get into, specific steps that we can take, I want to touch on one more area.
Okay.
And that's cosmetics.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that some of the ingredients in cosmetics can actually be harmful to our skin and our overall health. So is there any truth to that?
There is. Women especially are exposed to a huge number of chemicals through cosmetics,
Wow.
over 160 on average.
Really? 160?
Yeah. And a lot of these chemicals haven't been thoroughly tested for safety, and some of them are actually known to disrupt hormonal balance. They can even contribute to diseases.
That's really scary. Are there any ingredients that we should be, particularly wary of?
Well, one concern is the presence of endocrine disruptors,
Okay.
chemicals that can mimic or interfere with our hormones.
No, I've heard of those. What are some examples of endocrine disruptors that are found in cosmetics?
Well, parabens, phthalates, and triclosan, these are all common ones.
Right, okay. So what are some of the potential consequences then of exposure to these chemicals?
They've been linked to a lot of different health issues, including reproductive problems, thyroid disorders, and even certain types of cancer.
Oh my goodness. So is there anything we can do to kind of protect ourselves? Well, the good news is that there are safer alternatives out there.
Okay, good.
Look for products that are labeled paraben-free, phthalate-free, and triclosan-free.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to ingredient lists from now on.
It's good to be an informed consumer, right? Your skin absorbs whatever you put on it.
Right.
So choosing safe and natural products, it's a great way to support your skin and your overall health.
But how can we be sure that natural ingredients are always safe? I mean, poison ivy is natural, right?
That's a good point. Just because something is natural doesn't necessarily mean that it's safe or beneficial.
So how do we navigate all of this?
Well, you've got to do your research. Read labels carefully. Be aware of the potential risks. And look for products from companies that you know are reputable, brands that prioritize transparency, and use high-quality, ethically sourced ingredients.
And if we're not sure, it's always best to consult with, a dermatologist or another healthcare professional.
Exactly. They can give you personalized advice and recommendations based on your specific needs.
Okay, that's great. This whole concept of molecular mimicry that you mentioned before, I find that to be fascinating. Can you explain what that is and why it's relevant to cosmetics?
Yeah, molecular mimicry is when a foreign substance, like a chemical in a cosmetic,
Okay.
has a similar molecular structure to a substance that's found naturally in the body.
Okay.
And that similarity can actually trick the immune system into attacking your own tissues, which can lead to autoimmune reactions.
Wow, so our immune system can be fooled by these imposter molecules.
It can. And it really highlights the importance of being mindful of the ingredients that we expose ourselves to, because even substances that seem harmless
Right.
can have unintended consequences.
So we need to be really careful. Are there any cosmetic ingredients that are, known to exhibit this molecular mimicry?
Well, research is still being done on this, but some of the potential culprits are things like certain fragrances, preservatives, and dyes.
Okay, so we've got to be really careful about what we put on our bodies, just like we're careful about what we put in our bodies.
Yeah, exactly. It's about taking a holistic approach to health and recognizing that everything we put on our skin, just like everything we consume, can have an impact on our well-being.
This deep dive has already had so many eye-opening insights.
Okay.
I'm especially fascinated by this idea that what we do to one part of our body can affect every other part.
Right.
It really is all connected.
It is.
So, taking care of our gut health, understanding this gut-brain immune connection, being careful about what we consume, how we manage our stress, these are all really important investments in our long-term well-being.
They are. It's about, cultivating a deep understanding of our bodies and, honoring their innate wisdom.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation so far. I've learned so much.
Good.
But before we, really delve deeper into practical steps, I think we need to take a little break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll explore those actionable strategies for supporting our overall health and vitality. I'm really looking forward to that.
So far we've uncovered some pretty profound connections between the gut, the skin, and the immune system. But I'm sure our listeners are probably thinking, okay, so what do we do with this information?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's really cool to understand, all the science. But how do we actually put this knowledge into action?
Well, if I had to distill it down to two key things, it would be strength training and eat a large salad every day.
Okay, strength training and salad.
Yeah.
Those seem pretty simple. But how does that tie back into, the gut, the skin, and the immune system?
Well, strength training isn't just about building muscles. It actually has a very profound impact at the cellular level.
Oh, okay.
So when you challenge your muscles, you're also stimulating these little powerhouses within your cells. They're called mitochondria.
Oh, mitochondria. Yeah, I remember those from way back.
Biology class, right?
Yeah, biology class. What did they do again?
They're responsible for producing energy in your cells. They're like the batteries that power all of our bodily function.
Oh, okay.
And the more efficiently your mitochondria work, the more energy you have and the better your overall health is going to be.
So if we're strength training, we're giving our cells like a boost of energy.
Pretty much, yeah. And that increased energy production, it has this ripple effect
Oh, wow.
throughout the whole body. And it supports everything from immune function to hormone balance to skin cell regeneration and, of course, gut health.
Wow. So it's really not just about how our muscles look on the outside. It's really about what's happening on the inside.
It is. It's about optimizing how our cells function.
That's amazing. Okay, so what about the salad? How does that fit into all of this?
Well, salads, they're full of nutrients that nourish your gut microbiome.
Okay.
All those trillions of bacteria we've been talking about. And, we need a healthy gut microbiome for a strong immune system, clear skin, and just overall well-being.
But isn't it enough to just eat a variety of fruits and vegetables? What's so special about salads?
Well, all fruits and vegetables are definitely good for you, but salads, they offer this unique combination of raw, fiber-rich ingredients that are really, really beneficial for gut health.
So how does that work?
So when you eat a salad, the fiber from those vegetables,
Okay.
it feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut.
Okay.
And as these bacteria ferment the fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids. Have you heard of those?
Yeah, short-chain fatty acids, those are, remind me, what are those?
So they're a type of beneficial fat that provides energy to the cells lining your gut.
Okay.
They also reduce inflammation, and they even help regulate your appetite and blood sugar levels.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's like this chain reaction, right? We eat salad, our gut bacteria thrive,
Exactly.
they produce short-chain fatty acids, and then our whole body benefits.
That's a great way to put it. It's such a beautiful example of how interconnected our bodies are.
Yeah.
And how, the simple things that we do can have such far-reaching effects.
But what about people who don't have a lot of time? Where should we prioritize our efforts if we can't do both, the exercise and the healthy eating?
That's a good question. Ideally, we should do both.
Right.
But if you are short on time, I would say prioritize the strength training.
Oh, really? Okay, why is that?
Because strength training, it has a more immediate impact on your metabolism and your cellular function.
Yeah.
It's like jump-starting your engine and creating a more efficient system for processing nutrients.
So it helps your body, use those nutrients better.
Yeah, exactly. It's like prepping the soil for those good gut bacteria to grow.
Oh, okay, that's a great analogy. So it's really not about, being perfect. It's about making small changes that we can actually stick with.
It is. It's about progress,
Yeah.
not perfection. And, small changes can make a huge difference over time.
So speaking of small changes, I want to go back to cosmetics for a second.
Right.
What are some simple swaps that we can make to, reduce our exposure to those potentially harmful chemicals?
Well, one really easy one is to switch to a natural deodorant.
Okay.
Conventional deodorants, they often contain aluminum, parabens, and all those fragrances, and that can disrupt the microbiome of your underarms and potentially mess with your hormones.
Right. I've heard that natural deodorants don't really work that well, though. Is that true?
Well, there's definitely an adjustment period, as your body gets used to it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of great natural deodorants out there. They use things like baking soda, arrowroot powder, and essential oils to neutralize odor and absorb moisture.
So it's about being patient
It is.
and finding, a natural product that actually works for you.
Yeah. And again, it's not just about what you put in your body, it's what you put on it.
Right.
Your skin absorbs everything.
Okay. So are there any other swaps that we can make?
Yeah. Another easy one is to switch to natural lotions and creams. Look for ones that don't have parabens, phthalates, or synthetic fragrances. Choose plant-based oils and butters instead.
Okay, like what?
Like coconut oil, shea butter, jojoba oil. Those are all really good options. They're naturally moisturizing and they're really gentle, even for sensitive skin.
I am definitely going to be making some changes to my skincare routine. I'm learning so much.
Good. It's about, taking control of your health
Yeah.
and making choices that really align with your values. And again, remember, small changes can make a big difference over time.
We've talked a lot about the gut microbiome, and how important that is. But what about, what they're calling the COVID generation? I've heard there's some concern that, the lockdowns and being exposed to fewer microbes might have hurt their immune systems. What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a valid concern. The hygiene hypothesis suggests that exposure to a wide range of microbes early in life is really important
Right.
for training the immune system. And, lockdowns and, all the extra hygiene, while it was necessary to prevent the spread of COVID,
Yeah.
it may have accidentally reduced kids' exposure to beneficial microbes.
Sounds like we made things too clean.
In some ways, yeah. And it really highlights, how important it is to find that balance between hygiene and being out in the world.
Yeah. Are there things that, parents can do to help their kids develop strong immune systems?
Yeah, encourage outdoor play, interacting with animals, and, it's okay if kids get a little dirty. That's actually good for them.
So we really do need to change the way we think about, germs and microbes and realize that some of them are actually good for us.
Exactly. It's about taking a more holistic view.
Yeah.
We have to recognize how our bodies and our environment and the world of microbes are all interconnected.
So I know we talked about COVID, mostly attacking the respiratory system,
Right.
but I've also read that it can impact the gut microbiome. What does that mean?
Well, remember, the gut microbiome is really important for our immune system and just our overall health, right? So
Yeah.
anything that disrupts it, whether it's stress or antibiotics or a viral infection,
Yeah.
it can really have a big impact on the whole body.
So people who have like existing gut problems, they might be more at risk from COVID.
It's possible. And, that's why taking care of your gut is so important now more than ever.
This has been so eye-opening. We've talked about, all that science and also some practical tips for improving our health. As we're wrapping up, this deep dive, is there one final message you want to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, I think it's this. Your body is amazing. It's incredibly resilient. It's adaptable. And when you support your gut health, you're also supporting your skin, your immune system, and your overall well-being.
Yeah, it's not about like, getting to some destination.
Yeah.
It's really about, the journey. It's about making those small changes that really nourish our bodies and our minds.
I completely agree. It's a holistic approach. It's
Well,
about understanding our bodies
Yeah.
and listening to them and making choices that help us live our best lives.
I've learned so much in this deep dive.
Yeah.
I really feel like I'm looking at things in a whole new way.
That's great. I'm glad you feel that way. And I hope it encourages you to keep learning because there's always something new to discover. And the more we know about ourselves, the better choices we can make.
You mentioned earlier an anecdote about a doctor who lived to be 96, and he was still traveling the world, sharing his wisdom. That really made me think about what successful aging really looks like.
It really goes beyond just trying to look younger.
It does. It's about maintaining our vitality, our curiosity, our joy.
I agree. It's about having grace and wisdom
Yeah.
and taking care of ourselves so we can enjoy life at every age.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's not about fighting aging. It's about, thriving throughout the entire process.
Yeah, exactly. Aging is a gift, and it's up to us to make the most of it.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about. I'm seeing aging in a whole new light.
I'm happy to hear that. It's all about, shifting our perspective and realizing that every stage of life has so much to offer.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. It's been amazing.
It's been my pleasure, and keep in mind this journey never really ends. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep taking care of yourself.
That's a great reminder. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of gut health, immunity, and skin. We hope you learned some things
Yes.
and that you feel empowered to really take control of your well-being.
Until next time, stay curious and stay well.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.
It's really interesting to think that, a lot of times we think about successful aging as just, looking younger. But this doctor's story really shows us that, it's so much more than that.
It really is, vitality,
Uh-huh.
mental sharpness,
Uh-huh.
and continuing to, engage with the world around us.
Yeah.
It's about, living fully, no matter how old we are.
Yeah, and everything we've been talking about in this deep dive, it all points to that. Taking care of our gut, understanding this connection between the gut and skin and immunity. Right.
Making good choices about, what we eat and how we manage stress.
Mhm.
Those are all investments in our long-term well-being.
Absolutely. It's, a way of approaching health.
Yeah.
That's not about, just quick fixes or superficial solutions.
Yeah.
It's about really, trying to understand our bodies and honoring, that wisdom that they have.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about. I feel like you've given me this whole new way of looking at health and aging.
I'm so glad to hear that. I hope it inspires you to keep learning about this, fascinating topic. There's always more to discover.
Yeah.
And the more we understand about our bodies, the better we can take care of ourselves,
Yeah. What are some resources
Yeah.
or areas that you would recommend for someone who wants to kind of, go deeper into this gut skin immune connection?
Well, there are a lot of great books out there.
Yeah.
Websites dedicated to, gut health and the microbiome.
Mhm.
You can also find some really interesting podcasts and documentaries that, really dig deep into this. And don't forget about, talking to healthcare professionals
Right.
who specialize in, functional medicine or integrative health. They can give you, more specific advice
Yeah.
based on your needs.
Yeah, those are all great ideas. I'm going to definitely be, doing some more research and looking into those resources.
Good.
I feel like this deep dive has really sparked, my curiosity.
Well, curiosity is so important. It's the key to lifelong learning. And when it comes to our health, staying informed is one of the best things we can do.
I agree. This has been such an enlightening conversation. I feel like, I've learned so much about how everything's connected in my body
Good.
and, and the power that I have to support it.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure sharing all of this with you.
Oh, thank you.
And remember, this journey doesn't end here, Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep taking care of yourself.
That's such a great reminder. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive, into this world of gut health, immunity, and skin.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
We hope you learned some things
Yeah.
and that you feel inspired to take care of your well-being.
Until next time, stay curious, stay well.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.